Hi, it's Sarah Jane from Access Your True Nature. And I know it's late and it's not my normal time, but it's been a crazy busy week. And I want to speak a little bit about how you can learn to lengthen the wait, the pause, and get clarity before we rush into conclusion and judgment and projection and disappointment. And if you hear the paper crackling, that is my cat Splash, who is keeping me company tonight. So a theme that's been popping up a lot in the last couple of days with my clients and in various circles that I am in is this hierarchy that's been ingrained into all of us that we don't question. We expect what we want, and I've heard a lot of people this week saying, you know what, I deserve more. But they haven't stopped to actually ask any questions. And I want to talk about how destructive meaning making can be in this whole dance with assumptions and projections. When people are hurting, they lash out and hurt others because they don't wait to actually look at, what is happening here. And is this an expression of my purpose to react and respond, or is this actually in alignment with your highest purpose? Hi, nice to see you here, Mark. Who else has jumped in here? Hi, Erin. Hi, Michelle. So give me a yes if this is something that interests you, and how we can actually move past this place where we keep creating more and more separation and more hurt. And of course, my favorite saying of all times from a movie, I can't remember which one now, it's been a long day, that people don't break your heart, they break your expectations. And I just keep seeing this, that people are so attached to being right about their point of view, that they would rather defend that than actually grow through it. And some of these beliefs and how we subtly and respectfully can help to deepen into more right relationship with more compassion and more space of mind is really what my work with trauma is all about. And I want you to just see, where are you making yourself right in order to validate your point of view rather than be wrong and free. Because to me, people can't hear you when they're coming from this nervous system arousal of thinking that there's danger out there, and people don't trust people who violate their position of leadership, or they just don't feel safe, or that they don't belong. So I want to ask you, do you feel loved and supported right here? It doesn't have to be a life or death situation to earn trust. We just have to tell the truth, and tell the truth with a whole heart, because we all hold a common set of values and beliefs, and sometimes we have no idea what's going on in other people's lives. And this is where we see fear and lack and scarcity and this dog eat dog mentality, because people are so afraid to trust themselves. So does it make sense that whenever people are feeling attacked, they'll do whatever they can to avoid conflict because they're afraid to trust that there's something else deeper going on. So either we match hurt with hurt, or we avoid it and we walk away. Let me know if this is making sense. Yes, please. Thank you, Erin. People don't. All right, it says I've got a really weak connection, and maybe that's me. My energies are feeling a little exhausted today. It's been a busy day. So before I was so rudely interrupted, what I was wanting to speak to is this place where I had a situation a couple of weeks ago where I had this agreement with somebody where we both were very upfront about what was in it for us. We were very active in how we wanted to look at what we both were offering, and selfishly what was in it for them, and it was open and it was honest, and we were very balanced in our communication. And when we got to the point where we were doing this thing, she kind of got out with this whole big projection and this hectic energy of saying this is not what it's supposed to be, and she couldn't even hear anybody. And I found myself immediately going into this place of feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble again. And that was my child voice of going, what have I done? Even though I hadn't done anything wrong, it was just like I went straight into that child voice of saying, what just happened here? How do I make this better for you? How do I make this right for you? Because I can feel that you are making meaning out of something that actually I can't see, but clearly there's meaning making going on here, and that's not making you feel very happy. So what I've noticed is that we can get really good at practicing open dialogue, to be creative, where nobody is blamed or shamed or made wrong, or that we have to go into this place where we're defending. And this is where deal and deliver is one of the things that I teach over and over again, because it's changed my life and my relationship with things. But it doesn't mean that the human part of me and the childlike part of me doesn't go into that, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble, what have I done? And when your life has meaning, you feel content in a way that goes beyond your current energy and emotional state. And whether you're happy or sad or exhausted or refreshed, you're at ease because you know that you're making a difference somehow. Even though the difference might not be received in the way that you want, you are totally aligned and attuned to what you're here to do and how you want things to work out. That's a win-win for everybody. And some people feel that they're born for a specific reason, even if they can't currently define what their purpose is, or they don't know how to make the most of their purpose in life. And that's where I can help you with that, getting really clear on what your big why is by knowing what your selfish why is as well. Hi Boosie, nice to see you here. But if you're not one of those people that knows, what the heck is going on most of the time, just know that you're not alone. And most importantly, you don't have to wait until the universe reveals this big master plan for you. It's in the daily actions and in the daily response to how you are showing up in your life, and how you are keeping aligned with your values and your integrity and your morals. So if you are here, and take this as a sign that you're ready to reveal your blind spots and return to trust through your own truth-telling, and not in some version of a distorted story that happened when you were probably pre-7-year-old, because this is most of the time where we are responding to when we are feeling attacked, or we're feeling like people are vilifying us or making us wrong. And I love the work of Viktor Frankl. If any of you don't know him, he was a concentration camp survivor, and he's written some amazing books. But he says that in the depth of torment that he experienced and witnessed during that time in the concentration camps, he realized that living a meaningful life was a choice, and something that could happen regardless of the good or the bad of any situation that's going on around you. And of course, he saw the worst behavior that humanity can come to. And in that same place, there were a lot of acts of kindness despite the great personal risk. And this is, for me, what true leadership is about. This is what it means to lead your own life, tell your story with a whole heart, stand in your truth, and trust that you're enough. Is that each time a person can choose what they're going to be and how they're going to behave regardless of the consequences. And that Dr. Frankl reasoned that every one of us chooses their path, their right relationship with themselves first and other people. Hi, Kelly. So just remember, my other favorite saying is that you are what you love, not what loves you. And when you trust that you are love personified, that you are love in a body, you will lose any fear that you may have that you are not complete or whole or enough or lovable. And meaning is personal. Deciding what's yours, it can feel intimidating or overwhelming. But when you realize that your meaning can change as you gain life experience and learn more about yourself, then you can start to relax and enjoy all the options that are available to you, because we have resources everywhere. We have assets in our connection with other people. And this is where human bonds matter. And it hurts me deeply when people are so attached to their story and so attached to their right to be right that they can't hear anything else that would grow them or contribute to their lives. And your meaning, it can overlap with your career, but it doesn't have to. And if you decide that you're making meaning out of something that has nothing to mean, if that even makes sense, to make a positive difference in the lives of others, then you can do that through various routes. You can take the windy route, you can take the short route, but if you are so out of alignment with your truth, you're going to keep in that repeat pattern interrupt and that complete cycle of doing the same thing over and over again that is so exhausting and expecting everything to change. So my invitation is that, hey Jennifer, that you know, do you want to be right or do you want to be free? Because people can't hear you when they're driving and forcing and projecting vilifications and hate and hurt, instead of just saying, you know what, in this moment I'm really confused, I'm hurting, I'm confused, can you help me with this? That could give you a whole different way of growth and deepening into your connections, because we want to feel connected, don't we? So give me a yes or a no or a whatever. Let me know if this is resonating with you. Sometimes I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this, but there is a point in it, and that really is that, you know, we hold so many beliefs that oftentimes meet our emotional needs because we've been drawn to premature conclusions, and then we concretize, we make the conclusion, because remember, when you're in conclusion, you've already come to the conclusion that it's true for you. And when you're looking for answers rather than exploring the question of what else could be happening here, things go pear-shaped very quickly, and all it does is separate us even more. So, you know, it's kind of like saying, oh my God, I did this thing wrong, so then everything about me is wrong, which is not true. That's just your ego being your ego. And then we build this scaffolding of logic to support that belief. We go out and we look for all the visible proof of why we're an idiot or why we're stupid and why life is hopeless and why we can't trust people. Or, you know, there you go, you see I'm right. And we go out looking for all these evidentiary contrivances, and we totally lose our way in what is right and true and meaningful in the meaning making of the stories that we keep making up for ourselves. And that logic seems to work within in a very closed system, you know, and this is where the negativity bias comes in over and over again. And my work with the nervous system, where we're trying to out-argue a very emotionally charged, powerful belief, or force somebody out of it. And you know, we do that when we are in this place of low self-esteem, where it doesn't matter what we say, we just don't believe it. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says, we don't believe it, because we're so stuck in this lie that we're trying to make true. So, yeah, there's a lovely story about a princess that loses her crown in the pond, and there's this big high anxiety, and everybody's screaming and rushing because this crown is now lost in the dirty waters of the pond, and everybody jumps in and they're all trying to find it, and they're making the water all muddy. And there's one person that is willing to wait until the waters settle and everybody calms down. And through the clear water, there's the crown, and out it comes. So emotions always trigger imaginations, and we're always so quick to react and respond that we never actually give us, and it's not our fault, you know, this is where we're hardwired to go into that emergency place of reaction when we don't need to react. Hi Ingrid, nice to see you here. So, you know, emotions are part of having the thought first, which always triggers the imagination of the worst case scenario, which isn't a bad thing in itself, but the problem can develop if we get into this habit of automatically assuming, right? It's the assumption where we go and believe that what we have imagined is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, rather than just, hi Anjana, one possible interpretation of reality or a scenario. Why do we always go to the worst case scenario? Because we've probably been rewarded for being great problem solvers. I know that one was true for me. It's like I was known as a fixer in my work when I was employed in the rag trade. I was known as a fixer because I have a knack of being able to connect dots and patterns. But a side note on that is, people are always very overwhelmed by the strong emotion of what am I going to lose, right? Just like the crown, the diamond encrusted tiara that was sinking to the bottom of the muddy waters of the dam. It's like we're always looking at what are we going to lose, and what are we going to get? And this is where it gets very confusing when we're in interrelationship of not being honest and truthful about what we want out of it, and saying, what do you want from me? What do I have to give to you in order for you to give me that thing? And I don't know, it's just so exhausting. I've just had so many conversations with people that are stuck in some sort of scenario or story of this, as I was 2 weeks ago, when somebody's expectations were not met based on their assumption of what they thought it was going to be, that was so outside of the actual agreement that things got really, really messy. And of course, then they couldn't hear anything. So, when we start to, my daughter did this the other day too. She came home from school, and she's at that sort of pre-puberty age where they're being real little bitches. And this hurt matching hurt thing it just doesn't work. And she was starting to say that her friends weren't playing with her, and she was depressed, and they were being mean, and blah blah blah. And she was going into this whole story about what's wrong with them, but she was being mean and nasty back because she was hurting. And 99% of the time, if people say mean, unkind things, it's because they're hurting and they just don't feel safe or vulnerable, or they never got the tools to actually ask for what they want, or to say, I'm feeling really hurt in this moment. It's just like the truth trumps everything when you're wanting to trust that you're supported, or that you're held, or that you're validated, and that you feel safe, and that you belong, and that somebody sees you. And that's what we want, to get that serotonin and oxytocin going up, instead of stewing in this toxic soup of cortisol that's literally killing our brain cells one by one. And I said to Thalia, have you actually told them how you feel? And she's like, no, they don't want to listen. And I said to her, well, have you actually overheard your friends talking about you in this way? And she said, no, but she heard it via. And it was there was just so much charge on everything that was going on, just like it was in my own story. And I asked her, have you asked them why they haven't been wanting to play with you? Could that be your hurt or your depression talking? Or do you really have the proof? Is it true that this is why you haven't been able to play with them? Where's your ownership and accountability in all of this? And of course, when she calmed down enough, she could actually see, and we figured out a way for her to engage and interact and be wrong in the situation. So hi Jason, nice to see you here. So I kind of feel like I'm rambling tonight, and I'm just waiting for a client, so I'm going to wrap this up. But I really wanted to just talk to this, because projections and assumptions, if we're not willing to own and be accountable from a very compassionate, kind place for the parts of us that are hurting, we're never going to see the blind spots. And the same thing turns around in different scenarios time after time, because we're not willing to actually ask questions. So we're sending out these signals all the time that there's something here that we can be less sure of. You know, it's just like if one girl is being mean to you, it doesn't mean that everybody hates you. So this is where the compassion and the question can change everything. So notice that this is not about telling people that they're wrong. They may be right after all, but when you kind of start to suspect that people are filling in a meaning gap without enough real evidence, you're going to cast a little bit of doubt here and there. So ask the person to generate other possible interpretations, okay? My own example of this was that I didn't respond fast enough, or I wasn't excited enough, or I didn't get information back to somebody quick enough. And it was just like the assumption was I'm just being disrespectful. That she said she deserves more, and I could feel the hurt in her in the way that she was languaging to this, when it actually had absolutely nothing to do with her. And this is what I'm wanting to invite you into, is that if you text your friend, or you leave a message, or you send someone an email and they don't get back to you like right away, don't leap to the conclusion that you're being disrespected, or that it's personal. It's not personal. You know, how about maybe their phone battery was dead, or maybe they left their phone at home, or maybe they were busy, or maybe something else came up, or maybe they're having a huge fight with someone and they can't check their messages right now. You know, we all live busy lives, and this instant messaging and stuff, you know, in the old days, I remember that you had to drive home before you could make a phone call, or you had a face-to-face conversation with somebody when you had something to say. But we weren't living on our phones like we are today, where everything's instant. And if someone in your house doesn't answer you quick enough, my daughter again, she starts talking to Siri, and Siri gives her the answer, which is great as long as there is connection and presence in the house. So, you know, it's just like, maybe there's other things going on. Don't make it personal. You know, one thing's for sure, you don't know what's going on in that person's life, and there's simply not enough information to draw any conclusion to make it personal. People do not break your hearts, they break your expectations. So if you're setting the bar so high that everything that you see as evidentiary contrivances and proof to validate that you're not getting your needs met, I urge you to just slow it down and push pause and ask, you know, if it's true. Because your brain can't free itself from its normal assumptions and expectations, and its capacity to hold off until all the facts are known. We just lash out and we hurt, and we project hurt with hurt, and fear with fear, and more lack with more lack, and we just create more separation, when actually what we want, hi Lara, is more deeper connection. So just draw a distinction between believing and knowing. You believe, and I'm guessing, you know, that the earth travels around the sun, and you have a pretty good reason to believe that because science proves it so, but you know from personal experience that it's hurt. When it hurts like hell when you kick your toe against the door. And some beliefs, hi Laura, some beliefs have more supporting evidence than others, and more negativity bias than others. But knowledge has to do with direct experience. The trouble is that belief can easily masquerade as knowing and knowledge. So you need to be aware of the difference between it and the contrast in between. You can talk to your friends or your clients about the difference between belief and knowledge, and you can also just imply by the language that you use that there is a difference. So with my daughter, who was like, I know she hates me now because I did this thing. And my response to her is, well, what makes you believe that? You know, sometimes disputing irrational beliefs hinges on the final word, which is what makes you think that's true? What is the belief around that? Because ultimately, just like the storyteller who got the crown from the bottom of the dirty, muddy pond, we all need to be able to wait patiently and let things calm down. You know, take a time out, leave the room, you know, just hold that compassion, just not just for yourself, but for the other person too, to just deepen into knowing that it's not personal. Life is life, and it has absolutely nothing to do with how you are being present or not being present, in how other people assume that you're not present. Hi, Mariette. Hi, Tish. All right, so my client is on the line, so I'm going to go now. But I just wanted to sort of just explore that with you. Is where are you jumping to conclusions? Where are you making assumptions and projecting your hurt of not being seen or not trusting somebody else because you actually intrinsically don't trust yourself to actually feel into what's underneath the hurt or what's underneath the fear of what it is that you keep telling yourself to keep the same thing from exacerbating and repeating itself over and over again. You know, the value that you alone are capable of bringing into the world comes when you ask yourself, is this worthy of me? Is this, how would love speak to this? How would love treat you in that position? And look at, you know, is this an expression of my highest aspirations? Is this an expression of my purpose? Or is it something else? You know, what else is going on here? Because this is how we deepen into trust and we deepen into relationship. So just know that you're worthy. You're worthy of whatever it is that you're willing to have. But you have to be willing to ask for it in order for other people to give that to you. And know that you don't have to create some kind of trauma, drama, or emergency or tragedy, which ultimately pushes us to our big why and back into, you know, what really matters and where we're making meaning out of things that have no meaning other than to look at, you know, where is the space that I hold for myself in love and empowerment, and how do I rediscover my ability to fully engage in how to live deeply happy in my aliveness. You know, you have to trust your own intuition and follow your own truth to express what motivates and moves you to what you really care about, and not so much looking for the meaning of things from a place of understanding. You can't understand where somebody else is standing until you get underneath all of their crap, and that's where compassion and patience and presence and persistence comes in, to really find that peace of mind for yourself and stop making yourself wrong. Oh, thank you, Mariette. I love you too. So that's it. 8:07. I have a client in like a couple of minutes. So let me know where you are going into meaning making of things or making yourself wrong based on your pre-7-year-old experience of that people can't be trusted, or you have to give up who you are in order to fit in and not be abandoned or rejected or made wrong. People are going to make you wrong. You're not going to please everybody. So you may as well start trusting that you get to pleasure yourself first and own your selfish why, and then be very transparent and honest and truthful about what it is that you want, so that people can either say no, not today, and that's okay, because I don't know, lots of the people that have been huge impacts in the world, you know, you've got to learn that no isn't personal either, and just keep going until you get to align with the people that see your vision and feel your love and feel your support, and know that together is better than trying to do it all on your own. So that's it. Sending you lots of love. I know I've been quite absent over the last couple of days. It's been crazy busy, and I'd like to invite you to look at how can you deepen into right relationship with yourself. How can you express yourself clearly and succinctly from truth and exactness of what it is that you're asking for, and make the next 3 months of the next 90 days of this year really work for you, for a win-win. All right, lots of love. Post your comments and questions. Share this with anybody that you think might be interested in this. And one last question, or I need your help, is if you got this far is let me know if you would be interested in learning about attachment styles and how you can turn your blind spots into more truth-telling and your shadows into self-love and more connection and more deepening into trust, because I have some things that are coming up that I want to speak to, and I'm not going to move or respond until I get your yes. So post your yeses below, and have a great evening or morning or afternoon wherever you are. Lots of love.